to KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by the great Katie Maher as we get you ready for the weekend ahead in all of Kansas City sports. We have 5 great topics to talk about today, but we're going to start with the Ravens against the Chiefs. That game kicks off 3:25 on Sunday. You're only going to see that right here on KC TV5. And get this, guys, for this the 3rd time of the Patrick Mahomes era, the Chiefs are home underdogs at Arrowhead Stadium. The Ravens 2.5-point road favorites at the Chiefs. The over-under is set at 48.5 points. But the good news for Kansas City, wide receiver Xavier Worthy is expected to play. He was a full participant at practice all 3 days this week and has nothing listed for his game status on the injury report. So in the NFL world, that basically means you're a lock to play. Katie, I know we've broken down this game kind of ad nauseum all week, so we're going to go with this. Who are your players of the game on offense and defense for the Chiefs, and why?
Well, offense, I think it's going to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's kind of the basic answer, but through the first few weeks of the season, he's shown us that he's still doing Patrick Mahomes things. The offense continues to improve every week. We're seeing the deep ball come back with Tyquan Thornton, especially. Maybe that's a big game for him again as well. I called last week a breakout game for Tyquan Thornton because, I mean, yeah, he had some good stats leading up to it in weeks 1 and 2, but week 3 had people talking about Tyquan Thornton, and then he took to the podium on Wednesday and, talked about the people who would say terrible things about him when he was out in New England, how that made him feel, and it's nice to be here and to, people be in people's good graces again, kind of, and people loving on him. So I think it's all through Patrick Mahomes. This is Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Like, it's always about the 2 quarterbacks when it's quarterbacks in Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, like any of those matchups.
I think we got to put Justin Herbert in that conversation.
Yes, and Justin Herbert. Yeah, you're right. We're always talking about, it's always about the quarterbacks with those teams. So I think it starts with Mahomes doing the magic like he does. Hopefully we see a little bit more of a run game, though, from people that are not Patrick Mahomes. I would like to see that. But then it comes to defense, I think George Karlaftis. He's coming off a really good week 3 performance, and I think he'll follow it up with another good one this week. I mean, Chris Jones also, he's being graded really poorly in PFF right now. And, Spags was asked about that at the podium yesterday, and he was like, he kind of scoffed at it, and he was like, I don't think you can really grade people when you don't know what their assignment was. So
Katie, you know my thoughts on this. I am so sick of these Pro Football Focus grades, and it's so many people. It's like a social media creation. Like Pro Football Focus, I swear, they try to find a graphic to make it say where an offensive lineman has 0 pressures, or they want to put a graphic out there where a defensive player rated above 90 on this made-up scale of their own. Like it's just like. I can't believe people take these Pro Football Focus numbers seriously because it's just people, just as Spags said, they don't know the assignment. They don't know what the player was asked to do. They don't know what they were coached to do. They just kind of judge it based on their own criteria, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But so you pick Patrick Mahomes and then George Karlaftis?
Yeah, and I'll go into a little bit more on the defensive side because Ravens are coming off this game where their offensive line allowed 7 sacks last week against the Lions. It's hard to get through an offensive line, but B, harder to sack Lamar Jackson because he's so quick on his feet and he's Lamar Jackson. That's impressive. I think it's a testament to the Lions defense. I think the Lions defense is just really good. They have Aiden Hutchinson back and they're a defensive-minded team and all that fun stuff. But I think that the Chiefs' defensive line is coming off a really good week 3. They had a terrible week 1. They immediately got better in week 2 and then improved even more in week 3. Week 4, I think they're coming in a little hungry because they see what they can do based on what the Lions just did to the Ravens. Obviously, the Ravens are going to come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Do I think it'll be a 7-sack performance? No. But I think they'll get a few in there because they've shown that's a weakness now. But also, we're waiting for the secondary to step up, right? Like, that's what we're waiting for with the Chiefs defense. So maybe, Lamar Jackson gets a little pressured, and maybe Trent McDuffie or someone comes up with an INT.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what happens. Every time Lamar Jackson plays against the Chiefs, he seems to make some big mistakes in critical times. We'll see if Spags' defense can dial that up. I do like what you said about Tyquan Thornton as you know, a guy that had a breakout game last week. I'm kind of intrigued to see how he responds this week because I think you could make an argument for the first 3 games of the season, no team was game planning for Tyquan Thornton. He just wasn't at the top of their board on a defensive coordinator checklist.
He was riding the bench in my fantasy league.
Yeah, not anymore.
Starting him this week.
There you go. starting for Katie's fantasy team. But I'm interested to see how he responds, because we've now seen that he is a guy that can kind of take the top off the defense, and he's done it 2 games in a row now. And the Ravens, I know they haven't had the start to the year defensively that they wanted. I think that they rank near the bottom of the league in defense, but they're going to be trying to take away Tyquan Thornton. Now, another guy that they're definitely going to be trying to take away is going to be Xavier Worthy, who is going to play with that banged up shoulder. Today, head coach Andy Reid was kind of asked about, and this is something that we've talked about extensively on the show, about the potential risk of putting Worthy on the field while he is banged up. But Coach Reid was pretty adamant that he's ready to go, that he's able to play. That's certainly something that we're going to have to see. I know, Katie, you were out there at practice this week. It looked like Xavier had a black harness or a black pad underneath there. It didn't look like he could raise his right arm maybe above his shoulder. He was kind of flipping the ball back to the quarterback's underhand like a little bit of a grandpa toss. But interested to see how that works out. He definitely was doing a lot of dancing. I think that's a good sign for Chiefs fans, because, well, he was dancing last week and he didn't play. Yeah, but he certainly looks like he feels good.
One thing I will note about, something to think about in the whole Xavier Worthy didn't play in week 2 and week 3, those were both games that are not going to matter as much when it comes to playoff implications and seeding implications. The Ravens game does matter because they're an AFC team, but the Giants and the Eagles, they're in the NFC. It's not as important. I think this is a much more dire game if you have to bring Xavier Worthy back against a top contender in the AFC, is the time to do it.
I really think that's a tremendous point that a lot of average fans maybe don't see out there, is the Chiefs really do place a bigger emphasis on these AFC games. Not a bigger emphasis, but they're really focused on winning the division and coming out top in the AFC. Those games against the NFC East, those aren't going to count in those standings, so we're certainly going to see what happens there with the Chiefs. The Ravens, though, they have, I believe, the 32nd ranked defense in the league, so a lot of Chiefs fans kind of licking their chops as to maybe what could happen offensively on Sunday. But I do want to warn fans, the Ravens have played the Detroit Lions, and then they also played the Buffalo Bills, two of the top 5 teams in the league, and certainly 2 of the best offenses in the league. Teams' defensive numbers aren't going to look great after playing teams with that many weapons. So interested to see how that battle picks up. But for me, my players of the game on offense, I like what you said there about Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to go with an offensive lineman. I'm going to go because I feel like so much of this, I'm not saying I pick him to be the best player in the game, but a lot is going to depend, I believe. Crazy to talk about. He did get a lot of talk today. Jawan Taylor. We have got to see this guy trim down the penalties. These penalties kill the Chiefs. They're not what the team wants, and we want to see the team establish their run game. So we know the Chiefs, they're going to trust Creed Humphrey. They're going to trust Trey Smith. It looks like through these first couple games, they trust Josh Simmons. Who's the next lineman I'm looking to step up? Jawan Taylor, the second highest paid player on the team. He's going to have to kind of help keep things going there on offense. Am I going to pick Mahomes? No. Tyquan Thornton, I'm cautiously optimistic, but the Ravens, I think, are going to game plan against him. Travis Kelce really has not impressed me this year, although he was expected to have a big bounce back year. I really haven't seen that out of him so far. And then Xavier Worthy, I don't know what we're going to get out of him. So I'm going on the offensive line. Jawan Taylor, the spotlight's on you, big boy. We're going to see what you do. And then on defense, I was kind of wondering where to go with this, because so much about what the Ravens do, I mean, they have weapons all over the field. They have Lamar Jackson. They have Derrick Henry. They have Zay Flowers. They have Rashad Bateman. They have Mark Andrews. They have all these guys that can hurt you in a multitude of ways. But the one thing I think that scares me the most is Lamar Jackson running, because it's the one thing that the Chiefs, just a defensive coordinator you can't game plan for. You drop back in man and you defend for 8 seconds and you don't have anyone spying the quarterback. Lamar could break off a 35, 40, 50-yard run that could change the game. So my player of the game on defense, I'm going to go with Nick Bolton. I think he's going to have to be a guy that's going to have to really shut down not only Lamar Jackson, but someone's going to have to shut down Derrick Henry. I know he's had the fumble issues this year, but I mean, he just looks like a freight train out there. I'm a little worried about him. Katie, what are your thoughts on that?
About Derrick Henry?
Just about the Ravens' rush attack, what they present on offense, what the Chiefs can maybe defensively do to stop them.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs have proven through the first few weeks. I mean, they did a decent job of shutting down Saquon Barkley once again against the Eagles. Tremendous point. Yeah, and I think the Chiefs' run defense isn't their issue. So I believe that if there's anything that wins them this game, it's just the offense just has to score more points than the Ravens do, because I think the Chiefs' defense will hold them. I think the Chiefs do get a win out of this game, I will say. I think they're going to win this one. I think it'll be close, like it kind of always is with these two teams, but I think the Chiefs' defense is better than the Ravens' defense at this point, and when the two offenses, I feel like, are kind of equal, maybe the Ravens' offense is a little bit better at this point just because they're a little more full strength, etc. I do think that defense wins this, and it's going to come down to just stopping the run defense or stopping the run, And they're also going to try and capitalize on the fact that Derrick Henry's had three fumbles. 2 of them have been lost fumbles through the first 3 weeks. At critical points that likely could have won them the game. So, and that's out of character for Derrick Henry. Like, he's an all-pro guy. He's been in the league for years. He's a huge force to stop. Like, he's not easy to bring down, just in the way that Lamar isn't, because he's so quick on his feet. So really, I think it's just they can stop the run. That's the biggest thing. I'm not going to count out Zay Flowers either. People don't give Zay Flowers enough of a nod.
Enough of his flowers?
Yeah, enough flowers. Yeah. Because they don't think of Lamar as a passing quarterback, but Lamar can pass the ball. Anyone who knows ball knows that. And so I think it really just starts with the Chiefs proving that once again they are good at stopping the run, and they have been. Yeah,
so Katie, they're picking the Chiefs. This is, guys, this is a very big game in the NFL. It's a matchup of 1 and 2 teams, and neither of these teams is going to want to leave this game 1 and 3. After you go 1 and 3, your chances to make the playoffs, they drop dramatically. And we know both these teams, obviously, an extensive amount of talent, wouldn't want to count them out, but neither of these teams want to go 1 and 3. All right, Katie picks the Chiefs. I'm going to go with Katie. I think the Chiefs are also going to win this game. I think the Chiefs, they had to kind of figure out who they were going to be this season after the injury to Xavier Worthy. Because then with Rashee Rice suspended, Xavier Worthy was really going to be the focal point of their offense. I think you could make the argument outside of Patrick Mahomes amongst the skill position players, Worthy was the next best player.
He was the most worthy.
Yeah, he was the most worthy after Rashee Rice. And so the Chiefs had to figure out how they were going to win football games after that. And they didn't necessarily do that quickly, but then the players have talked about this, the team has talked about this, and we saw this on Sunday. In that second half, the Chiefs found a little bit on offense. They found some things that are going to work, or that did work for them. We're going to see if that happens on Sunday. But neither team wants to go home 1 and 3. No. We're going to see what happens. That game kicks off Sunday at 3:25 p.m. right here on KCTV5. You won't want to miss it. We'll have Katie, Neil, and Marlia all out there at the stadium on Sunday, and we'll have a full recap on KC Sports tonight. You guys won't want to miss that. All right. We got a lot more than just pro football going on this weekend. We have some college football going on as well. We're going to start with the game in the SEC. The Missouri Tigers are taking on UMass. The UMass Minutemen, I believe, are making their way out to Columbia. UMass is 0-3 on the season. Missouri is 4-0. 6:30 kickoff on ESPNU. The Tigers are 44.5-point favorites. I don't know why they scheduled this game. It's just two completely different levels of talent on the field. UMass, they have lost already this season to Temple, Bryant. I have not heard of them.
Me and Neil were saying we don't know where Bryant is.
Yeah, if you ask me right now, gun to my head, I could not tell you where Bryant was. I would guess maybe East Coast, Northeast, but I'm not sure. And also the University of Iowa. I believe the Hawkeyes blew them out 47-7. Missouri has looked like one of the best teams in the country so far this year. Running back Ahmad Hardy, I think, legitimately is inserting himself into the Heisman race. He has been one of the best players in all of college football. Not just one of the best running backs, one of the best players in all of college football. Absolutely a dominant performance out of him so far. Katie, question for you. You see Missouri in person. Is Missouri a legitimate playoff contender?
Yes, and that starts with Bo Pribula. He has really proved himself to be a top quarterback in SEC, in the country, however you want to put that. He's proven he can do it with his legs. Oh no, we've lost the red background. It's okay, we're still going to keep going. He's proven he can do it with his legs, and he's proven he can do it with his arm too. I mean, KU did a good job of shutting him down on his feet, but then he proved that he could get it done in the air too. And then he has this Ahmad Hardy back in the backfield, who can just, no one can bring him down. He is stellar, and I think when you have when you have a power combo like that of a really solid quarterback and then one of the best running backs in the country so far, and then a pretty good amount of weapons receiving wise, I mean, I don't see how anything can I see them being a team that can make the college football playoff, because I do think 3 or 4 SEC teams will make it, and I think they're going to be a top 3 or 4 SEC team this year. And they don't have the hardest schedule, I will add. Like, in SEC play, they don't play like they don't have the hardest schedule. Like, that's just how it goes nowadays. 16-team league now.
Sometimes that's how it crumbles.
It's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, you know. But they for sure are coming out as a favorite for me. I think they're really good this year.
Yeah, Missouri guys, I mean, Katie talked about them, Bo Pribula, and then Ahmad Hardy. And then after you deal with those two guys, you got to deal with another guy named Jamal Roberts, who would start for almost every other team in the country at running back. He is absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to see how Missouri kind of comes out and plays against UMass, maybe just for some local fans. Their left tackle, Caden Green, out of Lee Summit North. After last week's game, Coach Drink said that Caden had undergone a minor knee procedure, but he's not going to be out for the season. He said Caden, who is a big leader on the team, team actually addressed the group and said, guys, like, basically just hold it down. I'm going to be coming back. So some local news there that we're certainly going to want to see. But Missouri, a very, very good football team. I think they're going to They had one of the best portal classes in all of college football. I think they had the fourth or fifth best portal class. And we're seeing some of those guys already make huge impacts, like Ahmad Hardy, like some of the other players that they have on defense. Their linebacker from West Virginia, some tremendous players there. Always exciting to see Missouri taking on another good team. When that happens. Taking on UMass. That's tomorrow, 6:30. We'll have a recap of that on KC Sports Tonight. Also, staying in college football, we're trying to decide the order of what we're going to talk of college football with the local schools. We decided next to go with Kansas because so far they've been better than Kansas State. This week, KU is hosting Cincinnati out of the renovated David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. The Jayhawks 3-1, Cincinnati 2-1. KU is a 4.5-point favorite. The over-under is set at 56.5 points. Now, Cincy has wins this year against Bowling Green, Northwestern State, and they lost to Nebraska 20-17 in a game that was played at Arrowhead Stadium. So, Katie, you're going up to Lawrence tomorrow. You've seen KU a couple times this year. What are you most looking forward to tomorrow? What do you want to see the Jayhawks do?
I want to see if they get that run game back, and that starts with LeSean Williams, because he kind of emerged as, we didn't know this guy was this fast, and we didn't know this guy might be the best running back on the team if Daniel Highshaw Jr. can't play, and he is listed as doubtful. And he was doubtful going into last week's game, and then ended up, they tried him for a few series. Injury was bugging him. They had to take him out. And then LeSean Williams comes out and has a breakout performance, ran in a 60-plus yard rushing touchdown, had a receiving touchdown as well that went about 39 yards, I believe. So he's kind of emerged as we didn't know this guy was on the table, as someone that maybe can help revive the run game, because Kansas just doesn't really have one right now. Even with his good performance last week, half of his yards came from one play. And other than that, it kind of broke open in the fourth quarter, but for most of the game, they just couldn't run the ball. So I want to see if they can get that going again. And Lance Leipold had said earlier in the week that Cincinnati is going to be the best team that they've played so far this season, which I think is just a little bit of a dig at Mizzou, that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't agree with that. I don't think.
You got to get the boys focused. You got to say what you got to say sometimes.
I'm hoping that means in Big 12 play, because really, Lance?
It's a rivalry, He's got to make a dig at Mizzou.
I get it. But I think since he's going to be good, I remember KU went there a few years ago, and by the fourth quarter, they were playing their third string quarterback because they were up by so much, and they beat them at home on their own turf. So now it's going to be on their turf. It's a sellout game. It's family weekend. 11 a.m. The first 11 a.m. kickoff of the season for KU fans. I think it'll be just good vibes all around. I think the Jayhawks are going to win by a few scores. I actually don't think it's going to be that close of a game, because I came into this season with a big question mark on the Jayhawks. I was like, I don't know if they're either going to be really bad and Jalen Daniels is just going to be the best player on the team, but he doesn't have weapons. Because that's the thing. They graduated their kind of holy trinity of receivers, and Devin Neal, who's going to be a Hall of Famer at KU one day. So they lost so much, and their team is so brand new that I was like, they're either going to be really good, because it's all these new fresh guys with exciting energy. They got a few good transfers, but for the most part, these have been guys that have been kind of waiting their turn and learning from those experienced guys ahead of them. I was like, they're either going to be really good, or it's going to be a 4-win season, and let's just, I don't know, talk about next year when it's Isaiah Marshall or Cole Ballard's time to shine as QB1. I don't know. But I think they've proven to me and a lot of other people that they're actually probably really good so far, and I think this is a team that easily going to make a bowl game, which they didn't do last year, so already a huge step up. And yeah, I think that KU, they've proven that once again the nation's got to watch the Jayhawks in football, which imagine saying that in 2020, 2021,
2024 even.
Yeah.
They were 5-7 a year ago. No, but KU, I like what you said there, because KU really has in many ways shifted the narrative around their program. And it's so good that this happened for them in the year where they opened the renovated David Booth Memorial Stadium, because that put a spotlight on their program, and the team on the field truly has delivered. I mean, you're talking about how KU lost a lot of their skill position guys. I've been surprised by some of their playmakers. You talk about Le'Shawn Williams. This guy has made plays almost every game of the season. Or Emmanuel Henderson, the transfer from Alabama.
Yeah.
This is a guy with game-breaking track star sprinter speed. We saw it last week with his kickoff return for a touchdown, but he also had another great kickoff return. KU's really got some guys there, and this the tight end Deshaun Hanukkah. I've been pretty impressed with him, just how these guys have kind of filled in these roles around Jalen Daniels. But Daniels has been so good so far this year. He's 66 and 99 passing, 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. You probably want to see some of those interceptions cleaned up. But I mean, guys, KU has really shifted the narrative on their program. I mean, last year, KU football is always going to have to fight for respect around the country, because no one's going to believe in them until they do it repeatedly and with consistency. Last year, there were a mountain of expectations on KU. That Jalen Daniels was Big 12 preseason player of the year, and they come out and they just absolutely lay an egg, go 5-7. They do close the year strong, but the way they started that year just put them in the back of everyone's mind, because they're just like, all right, KU, whatever they were, 1-4, 1-5, we don't have to think about them anymore. But now this year, KU really changing that narrative. We're going to see if they can get a win against Cincinnati tomorrow, that game on national TV.
I will say, I like your point in how they have to fight tooth and nail every year now to prove that they are a contending football team in the national landscape of college football, because I mean, they came off a 9-win season before last year, so it almost makes last year hurt even more in terms of that, because had they gone from a 9-win season to another like 9 wins, or maybe 8 wins, 9, whatever, maybe they'd be in that, like they wouldn't have to be fighting as hard to prove that they'd
probably be in the top 25 now. Because so much of it is just about perception, but so much of this also, think about the leap KU wants to take. KU wants to take a leap into the next echelon of college football. Right now, I think you can make an argument that they're clearly, I would say, behind Missouri. You could also say they're behind Kansas State in just terms of program prestige. But if KU continues to win, they continue, obviously, the renovations at their stadium, the increase of their football facilities, recruits are going to want to play there. It's a good environment, and if you have a good team, other players are going to want to go, and KU really could get something cooking. Katie, anything else there?
Yep. Nope. Just excited for tomorrow's game, 11 a.m. kickoff, which means working a day shift.
Yeah, she's going to be working late tonight. She's going to be up early in the morning, so she's going to be getting a lot of coffee tomorrow. KU 4.5-point favorites. All right, now we're going to go next college football point. How about this, guys? The K-State Wildcats are going to host the Knights of UCF tomorrow at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. UCF enters this game with a 3-0 record, while K-State is 1-3. But Katie, this shocked me. I was doing the research before this. K-State 5.5-point favorite against the Knights out there in Manhattan. Good news for them. Running back Dylan Edwards is expected to play. UCF this year has wins over Jacksonville State, North Carolina A&T, and then how about this one? Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, K-State, we know they're 1-3. They've played in 4 one-possession games, obviously found a way to lose 3 of those, win 1 of them, only against North Dakota. Katie, big question here. It's been tough for K-State this year. There's really no denying that. Is K-State going to win this game? And if they don't, if they lose, is this going to be a lost season?
I'm going to say that I believe in the Cats. Okay, I think they can pull out a win tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Like, I think this is going to be this like gritty win that, you know, maybe can set them up for, okay, like we put our heads together and we somehow found a way to win this game, and that like propels you into, you know, more dominant wins hopefully down the road for the Cats. Or if they lose, I think it's just basically the end of their season. And it's just kind of a lost cause, which is unfortunate because I think Avery Johnson is so talented. I think Jace Brown is so talented. I think their offensive line is struggling. Defensively, not terrible. Just on offense, like something's not clicking. An advantage they have is the fact that Dylan Edwards has basically not really played at all. So UCF probably won't be able to game plan very much for him. So having him back in this game, I think, will be a really big added boost. I always believe that K-State plays so much better at home, it's so unfortunate that they gave up a home game by playing in Ireland against Iowa State, and they're already 0-1 in conference play because of that. And then they lost at home to Army. Like, home wins are supposed to be, like, guaranteed for K-State. Like, they don't often lose at home. I have to believe that, you know, kind of the same thing where it's the first 11 a.m. kickoff of the season. The vibes are going to be high in Manhattan. Like, the crowd's going to be phenomenal as always. It's always sold out there. I have to believe that, like, they're in desperation mode right now. I think if they lose this game, like, I mean, the mindset it might just fall apart from there. And also, if you go 0-2 in conference play, like, based on what we saw from the Big 12 last year, like, it basically means you're out of the title race. And granted, anything can happen. Like, we may not have the same year as last year, where if you have one loss or 2 losses, you know, you're out. But anything can happen. But like I said, like, starting 0-1 in conference play has already kind of kicked them into the we can't mess up. So I think that Kleiman has them disciplined enough to know that they have to win this game tomorrow, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they lost it. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, I think there's a very big argument that this could be not only the biggest game of K-State's season, but it really could end up becoming one of the biggest games of Chris Kleiman's tenure at Kansas State, because if this team drops to 1-4 and this team kind of loses the buy-in and the season kind of falls apart as it very well may, this could be a program-changing situation for K-State. If K-State loses this season, does Avery Johnson come back? Does Avery Johnson need a fresh start? Does Chris Kleiman come back? Does he need a fresh start? Does Matt Wells come back? Does he need a fresh start somewhere else?
They try to get Colin Klein.
Yeah, there are so many questions that happen if K-State's season falls apart. But if K-State, if we just take the logic to the end, if K-State finishes the season like Florida State did last year when they lost the Ireland game, they go 2-10. How does this program bounce back from that? Because so much of this was built to be around Avery Johnson, a homegrown kid from the state of Kansas, one of the best recruits ever out of the state of Kansas, going to a home state school, and then in his 3rd year, it potentially could all implode. I mean, it's a scary time out there in Manhattan, but I hope K-State realizes that. They certainly sound like they're practicing hard. I know on Monday, head coach Chris Kleiman said that they had a great bye week of practice. They were a little more physical than maybe they would have been. He's really wanted to emphasize winning the point of attack. I know a lot of criticism from the outside on K-State is that they are losing the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and they're kind of letting the other team dictate how the game is played. But guys, UCF 3-0 coming into K-State. This is a team that, I mean, they're winning this year. K-State's 1-3. I mean, it's gonna have to see what happens.
It makes it all the more unfortunate when you look at the success that Colin Klein is having, and you remember Avery Johnson scoring 5 touchdowns in one game against Texas Tech his true freshman year, and kind of remembering, like, if Colin Klein were still the OC, like, the game plan that would have been made for Avery Johnson would have been so much better than what we're watching, because it looks like he's just being told not to run, which is insane because it's what makes him a special quarterback and really talented.
Yep.
I think he can do it with his arm too, but I think he's the best when he can do both. And there are just, I could go into a whole spiel. We've gone on soapboxes about how Avery Johnson is being told not to run.
Yeah, if you take away Avery Johnson's legs, you've done the defensive coordinator's job for him. You have to make the defense take away Avery's running game. You can't take it away for him. All right, here we go. Friday Night Lights, high school football, big night for us here at KCTV5. We hope to see you on Friday Night Blitz. We have 2 quick minutes here, 2-minute drill to go through our high school football games. Our game of the week, the great Neil Jones, is going to be at Kearney against North Kansas City. Guys, this is going to be a great game. Kearney 4-0, North Kansas City, a surprise program this year, 4-0. We know they have a bunch of great basketball players on their team. I assume some of those playing football. That'll be our game of the week. Also, St. Joe Central, strong start to the season. I believe 3-1, taking on Liberty. That'll be a great game. Blue Springs South, they might be the best team in our viewing area. They're going up to the Northland, taking on the Staley Falcons. And then out in Platte County, the Platte County Pirates hosting Belton in a matchup of 2 really good teams. And then Katy is going to go down to see Bishop Miege, my alma mater, against Rockhurst. Those are 2 great teams.
Fighting Marks.
And the Fighting Marks. We'll see how they do. And then Blue Valley West is taking on Blue Valley North. Katy's going to go to that one. And then staying on the Kansas side, Shawnee Mission Northwest. They've had a great start to the season, taking on Olathe Northwest, the alma mater of meteorologist Warren Sears. Yeah, every time I go there, I go to an Olathe Northwest game. Their trainer tells me that he used to be like one of Warren's coaches. So
looking
I'm like, all right,
for a framed photo in the hallway.
Yeah. Hey, they got to put Warren up in the Olathe Northwest Hall of Fame. And then our last game we'll be going to is Gardner Edgerton against Olathe North. Gardner, obviously, one of the best programs in the state of Kansas. So, Katy, you've seen several teams this year. You've seen Rockhurst this year. They're taking on Bishop Miege. Anything about Rockhurst that stands out to you quickly?
Just the fact that I think they bring physical game, and I'm excited to watch them in person again. I got to watch them 2 weeks ago, and I think they were just really physical on defense, which I liked.
Yeah, they have a lot of D1 players on that team, a lot of D1 players all across the Metro. If you want to see them, tune in tonight on Friday Night Blitz. Katie, myself, and Neil Jones will have all the greatest high school action from all around the area tonight. That'll be about 10:15. We'll see you then. Also, KC Sports Tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 10:35. We'll see you there. Take care, guys.